Taking personal health and wellness was one of my smartest decisions this semester. It was not a class I dreaded coming to or watched the clock waiting for it to be over. It was a class I truly enjoyed being in and learned information that I know will help me in my further studies and also in the real world. Being a first semester freshman, the transition from high school classes to college classes can often be a struggle. However, Dr. Goodson's personal health and wellness class was a perfect transition for me. In the first module, we learned about the 5 dimensions of health. This included physical health, intellectual health, emotional health, social health, and spiritual health. I believe it was extremely useful to include this information in the first module because these 5 dimensions seem to be related to each topic we discussed afterwards. Whether it was the health equity article, the Sing Sing video, the stress articles, or the speaker we had in class, each one of these things dealt with the 5 dimensions of health. Also in Module 1, we learned about health equity, which is defined as the concept underlying a commitment to reduce health inequalities and social conditions, which are regional, national, and global levels that shape conditions experienced locally, such as poverty, homelessness, or unemployment. We also watched 2 very interesting videos in Module 1. The first one was the Paycheck to Paycheck video, which involved a woman living below the poverty line struggling to support her own health and her family's. The next video, which I really enjoyed, was the Sing Sing video. This video dealt with the basic human right of education. The video is a documentary of a prison where the inmates are offered education and a college degree. It was truly inspiring to see how motivated and determined the men were to receive their education. Watching them receive their diplomas was truly awesome. Next, in Module 2, we learned about stress and stress reduction. This module was my favorite because the information we learned about is actually information that relates to me right now and can help me in my life. Being a college student is of course a very stressful time, especially around exams. And in personal health and wellness, I learned a ton of useful information and techniques that I know will help me during this time. In class, we learned about stressors, which are things that make you stressed. We also learned about the causes of stress and how stress developed. We learned that when your body perceives a threat, our bodies release hormones. Dr. Goodson also taught us about avoiding, accepting, altering, or adapting as ways to recognize stressors that we can change. Some of the ways we learned that stress can be reduced were by doing physical activity, eating breakfast, making your bed, and getting enough sleep. We also learned that eating dark chocolate can actually be extremely beneficial to the body because it helps memory and also lowers blood pressure. Also during this module, we read a few different articles about studies involving the stress among college students. I, of course, being a college student, found these articles extremely helpful and relevant. Additionally, I found the article about the correlation between sleep and stress extremely important. Lastly, our guest speaker, Jason Smith, was a great asset to Module 2. It was nice to hear information about stress from someone who studies it as his profession. He was extremely insightful and also provided really great information. Lastly, Module 3 was also extremely important. Module 3 dealt with the basics of nutrition and healthy food options and wellness. In class, we reviewed the different food groups, which actually proved to be very beneficial to me because I have not had a review of these since probably elementary or middle school. So there was definitely some important information that I had forgotten about. We distinguish between nutrition and nutrients by defining nutrition as the science that studies food, how food works, and how food influences health. And we define nutrients as components of food that are needed for proper body functioning. During this module, we also calculated information on the daily values of grams of fat and carbohydrates we are supposed to consume each day. Lastly, we went on a scavenger hunt where we had to find certain food groups and do certain activities involving basic nutrition. For my health and service learning project, I volunteer with an organization called Keith Miller and Associates Counseling and Behavioral Health Services. The issue I assisted with was the issue of depression among college students. The demographics would be young adults within the 18 to 22 age range. The reason I think this is such an important issue is because it is something that directly affects the people I'm surrounded by every day. I believe there are many college students battling depression that do not feel comfortable sharing it or getting help. In 2011, the American College Health Association took a nationwide survey of college students at 4-year institutions and found that 30% of college students reported feeling so depressed that it was difficult to function at some time in the past year. Therefore, as my project, members from Keith Miller and Associates provided me with information about teen depression, such as ways it develops, ways it can be hidden, and how it can be dealt with. With this information, I created flyers containing this information as an attempt to make students more aware and possibly help students battling this by letting them know they are not alone. I also provided Keith Miller as a resource for any students dealing with depression. I hung my flyers all around campus to make this information available to all students.